Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Hello and welcome to episode 223 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Paris and this is Chris.
Hello.
This time I read Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff by Sean Penn. Yes, the famous film actor Sean Penn, the very same. This was published in 2018 by Atria Books, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster. This book was requested by our patron George, who wrote to us saying, I've been listening to you guys for a long time, and this is the first time I've ever found anything that you folks might be interested in. I present to you Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff, a book that is only 176 pages and was somehow still one of the most dreadful slogs I've ever read. Well, thank you so much for your support, George. We hope you enjoy this episode that we made just for you. I guess that I made just for you, and Chris will finish making just for you after we record.
Together.
Yeah. If this is your first time listening to this show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. Sometimes, like today, we read books that our patrons, like lovely George, or other listeners or friends recommend. So we are typically doing the opposite of what most people are doing when they are in a bookstore or browsing the internet and looking for something to read. Usually, this experiment results in a hilarious and disappointing read, but once in a while, we do actually end up liking, or even more rarely, loving the book. All right, in addition to our usual barnyard language, today's episode includes kind of action movie violence, but oh boy, it's all about American politics, racism, anti-Semitism, and sexism today, so maybe choose another episode in the back catalog.
Wow, yeah, Bob Honey doing stuff on this.
Yeah, he's doing stuff, all right. So, yeah, it's going to be a heavy current events show today. Please do yourselves a favor. Maybe just don't listen to this until you are ready.
How did that happen on a book by Sean Penn?
You know, I asked myself that while I was reading it.
I thought this would be wonderful escapism from my current reality, but unfortunately...
No, Chris, the rule this season is that Paris gets fucked with each book choice with like intense research or really hard topics, and you're just over here like, I'm reading about Jedis on a moon.
Hey, I want everyone to know that this is a decision that we make together. It is not like I'm in the document, like secretly giving myself the easy shit.
No. It's just coincidentally this is what's happened this year. I don't know. This year is just especially cursed. Perhaps
you're jumping on every single grenade in this season.
It's true, and maybe this is our punishment because we decided to split our reading, and Tereblo's like, fuck them, I'm gonna make them regret that choice somehow.
I mean, honestly, I'm doing fine. It seems like you're the one that's suffering.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a year for me to suffer. That's fine. 2025, the year of suffering. But why? All right, so all right, here is the back of the book summary. Bob Honey, a modern American man, entrepreneur, and part-time assassin. He's just a guy trying to make it through each day while grappling with loneliness, alienation, violence, uncertain of his place in a culture that considers branding more important than being. Bob Honey has a hard time connecting with other people. He dreams he is sleeping with his ex-wife every night and imagines waking up unhappy next to her every morning. Advertising, entertainment, and commerce rule his days. He's sick of being marketed to every moment, but is unable to pry himself away from the constant feed. a paragon of American entrepreneurialism, Bob sells septic tanks to Jehovah's Witnesses and arranges colorful pyrotechnic displays for foreign dictators. He's also a part-time assassin for an off-the-books program run by the CIA that targets the elderly, the infirm, and others who drain this consumption-driven society of its resources. When a nosy journalist
found his niche.
Yes. When a nosy journalist starts asking questions, Bob can't decide if it's a chance to form some sort of new friendship or if it's the beginning of the end for him. With treason on everyone's lips, terrorism in everyone's sights, and American political life racing to ever lower standards, Bob decides it's time to make a change. If he doesn't get killed by his mysterious controllers or exposed in the rapacious media first. So that's what is supposed to pull you into this book and make you want to pick it up and purchase it and see what Sean Penn's got going on in the literary world.
Not the least interesting thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something in there.
Sure.
He's not writing like fucking like it's a vampire dragon romantasy. You know, like
yeah, for real. So our setting, we are most of the time in Woodview County, California, but then we kind of, I don't know, we're like in Florida, and then we're like somewhere off the coast of Belize or something. So we're kind of in a lot of different places because much of the book is Bob remembering past events, so we get taken to other places, but a lot of it's in California. And this is present day. We get some, or it was, most of the events of the book take place in 2016, and then of course him remembering back to things is sometimes earlier than that. All right, our main character is Bob Honey, a 56-year-old, as just described, secret special agent, seller of septic tanks, creator of fireworks displays. His nosy neighbor, Helen Mayo, a journalist named Spurley Coutier, Bob's last girlfriend, a millennial named Annie, Bob's former boss, and finally Bob's ex-wife. So there's a lot of other characters too, but those are sort of the ones that make the biggest impact on the plot, let's say. All right, so similarly to one of the other books I read this year, this book was broken up into little titled sections. So I just decided to write a couple sentences.
Chapter? Oh no, sections.
I mean, they're chapter.
What's the line between a little titled section and a chapter, Paris?
Well, you see, these are stations. The stations of Sean Penn's cross, apparently.
Oh, okay.
You know. All right, so I am going to just read you the title of each section, and then I'll give you my 1 to 5 sentence, maybe longer in the longer ones, summary of what happened. So this isn't I don't know. This is the most bland way I could tell what happens in this book, because the interesting thing about Bob Honey, who just do stuff, is how it is presented and written, how the English language is used and twisted to the point of unrecognition.
All right, now you've piqued my interest here. You're saying I'm going to serve you a bland summary, but you're saying there's a secret flavor sauce underneath.
Yeah, there's
don't have to put any Helen Mayo on the top of it. Did you say there was a lady named Helen Mayo, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, you can add her for some flavor, I guess. Is she literally flavor because her name is Mayo?
I don't know what flavor it is, though. I don't know if it's flavor you're going to like. So.
Airhead's mystery flavored literature.
If only. Okay. All right, so here is my best attempt to concisely tell you what happened in this book. Part 1, Prelude. There's a transcript of a sheriff's blotter from Woodview County, California, with a few calls between 2001 and 2004 from a Helen Mayo about the resident of 1528 Sweet Dog Lane behaving strangely. Station 1, Seeking Homeostasis in Inherent Hypocrisy, Summer 2016. God, that's like an album title from 2004.
That's a tech death album right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Just like Sean Penn on the mic. This next song is called Homeostasis.
Disrespect your homeostasis. Fucking windmilling, two-stepping Sean Penn. Okay, yeah, that's also what I thought the first time I read it.
Homeostasis.
All right. Someone cuts the power at an assisted living facility and uses the cover to execute 3 of the residents with a mallet.
Okay.
Station 2, Recollections of a Teenage Carny. Bob is 56.
It's called Recollections of a Teenage Carny.
Oh my god, Chris, so many of these are that. So
I'm doing it for every fucking station. So
write this record. All right, Bob is 56 and divorced, but still haunted by his ex-wife on both the physical and astral planes because he can hear her ice cream truck driving the neighborhood most afternoons while also dreaming about having unsatisfying sex with her most nights as well. He recounts some of his early life.
He's too busy helping the kids feel happy. She doesn't have the energy when she gets home after driving that truck around.
No, the ice cream truck, I think, was after they got divorced. This is like her new successful life, and it gets shoved in his face constantly because he can hear like around the neighborhood.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. He recounts some of his early life, and we learn that he developed a love for the mallet after winning one of those strength games at a Ren fair once. This becomes his weapon of choice in his later profession.
You don't really want to have like an MO as like an undercover. Like you really got to mix it up if you don't want people tracking you.
Yeah, you know, you would think. But we are soon to learn that Bob is not supposed to be like a lovable scamp that the reader identifies with. So. Okay. All right, Station 3, Ephemerally Disarmed. He describes...
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my god, they're all different. I didn't think about this when I was reading, but they are literally all different subgenres of heavy metal. Like, anyway. Oh god. All right, Bob describes a professional adventure in Baghdad with several weird racial departures during the story, presumably to intensify the cartoonish, average American straight white guy levels that this book is aiming for, but it turns out to be more gross than funny. Station 4, The Scottsdale Program. Bob explains... Oh
shit, that's like a grind album is what that is.
Bob explains... No, actually, the next one is a grind album. The Scottsdale Program, I feel like, is some, like, sci-fi, like, industrial themed thing. All right.
Okay.
Bob explains the covert program into which he was recruited. Senior citizens threaten markets and progress, so they must be killed. This was hatched by the Heritage Foundation and other right-wing cronies, and then eventually picked up by the NSA and adopted as top-secret U.S. policy. Even the EPA is on board because murdering the elderly would make enough room for industry and the young to continue polluting and farting, respectively. Journalist Spurley Cotier appears at Bob's door suddenly to interview him because someone alerted him to the suspicions of his neighbors. They have an awkward first meeting and plan to continue the interview another day. Bob then reminisces about a young, as he would say, perhaps too young, millennial woman named Annie with alopecia who he had dated recently. So the reader must suffer through a boomer thinking about how much he loved fucking this girl.
Cool.
Station 5, Big Cock.
Hell yeah.
That's the grind album. There it is.
The porno grind album.
Annie, his, millennial girlfriend, had texted him a picture of a large black dildo on the street, so Bob decides he must track it down, and he uses clues in the photo to do this, and sacrifice it in a mock indigenous ritual on the Moapa Indian Reservation. He burns it and sings the Oscar Mayer Wiener song as his prayer. He returns home to watch TV, then goes to bed with a Paul Oak song playing about the racism of liberals.
Okay, Bob Honey, do stuff.
You do stuff. All right, Station 6. A Portrait of Entropy, which is clearly like a heavy synth power metal band album.
No, that's an Opeth album. That's an Opeth song.
No, it isn't. It's the day of the interview with Spurley, and it's still pretty weird. Bob can see in Spurley's notes and notices that Spurley thinks he's a delusional narcissist. After Spurley leaves, Bob gets a code drop for his next mission at the Thousand Oaks Elderly Care Park. He assesses the situation and then murders the 78-year-old. He drives away to another Paul Oaks lyric. I am the masculine American man. I kill, therefore I am. Station 7. Sexual Dungeons! This is the typo negative. The typo negative, the goth rock.
No, it's a slam album, is what that is. It's just like for
no. The next one is slam. You'll see in a moment.
Okay.
All right. In Sexual Dungeons, we're treated to more aggressive misogyny when Bob wakes from his recurrent dream about his ex-wife. On his morning walk, he and Helen get into a staring contest, which he wins because a helicopter crashes into her house, killing Helen and her chihuahua.
Oh.
A reporter arrives and makes a heinous series of terrorism, Sikh, and Muslim jokes while covering the crash. Spurley comes by to continue the interview and suggests that Bob's presence at the time of the accident is suspicious, and Bob excuses himself. He misses Annie again and continues being upset about how marketing has taken over everything. Station 8, Insect Homicide. That's the Slam record, 2016.
Yeah, okay.
Bob goes on a walk.
Your song is called Insect Homicide. Dun, 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 dun.
Bob goes on a walk and thinks about his sickly mother in his childhood, and then goes on another rant about marketing, then sees his ex-wife when a newspaper suddenly hits him in the face just as he remembers a guy he met on a work trip last year. Station 9, Religious Tourism. That's a, black metal album.
Yeah, kind of a reach on that one, honestly.
I don't know. 2015. In one of Bob's previous jobs as a fireworks display artisan, he had a job that traversed Venezuela, Bolivia, and Chile. On this trip, he took a barge he rented a few miles off the coast of Chile to go diving and encountered Fischl, a Hasidic Jewish man who recently escaped Bolivian prison. This man's speech is written in a full racist caricature, and he is referred to as a Jew the whole time, with footnotes noting that he uses Jew speak. They eventually pass a yacht and go on board for a party. It comes under attack, so they return to their barge and go back to U.S. waters. They are interrogated upon arrival, because apparently the owner of that yacht they partied on was some kind of drug lord or something, and Bob's past travels become an issue, as he has gone through a long list of countries at the same time that terrorist attacks or other large-scale illegal activities had occurred. Bob is ultimately released, though, despite the reams of data making him suspicious. Station 10, Ballad of a Broken Man.
That's just like a hard rock album.
That's
just saliva is what that is.
Oh my god, the butt rock side of new metal. Yeah. It's Corey Taylor releasing another side project. Oh god. Spurley returns to continue the interview, wherein he tells Bob that despite being well-traveled and rich in life experience, he lacks worldliness. He asks Bob if he's into spying, and Bob eventually asks to end their interview, and that Spurley not write his article on him. Station 11, Mein Drumpf. This is the Rammstein of the evening.
Okay.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Mein Drumpf.
Bob thinks about how Trump and the media suck respectively, and together, then decides he needs to appear more normal to attract less interest from journalists and other parties, so he creates individual collaged invitations for his neighbors to attend a barbecue at his house that Saturday. Unbeknownst to Bob, this is also the day a memorial is happening for Helen, so all of the neighbors hate him more. Then there's more Paul Oakes lyrics.
Okay.
Station 12, Harking Back, Drifting, and Decomposed. That is
Drifting, decomposed.
Harking Back, Drifting, and Decomposed is the next Devin Townsend record. That's definitely what that is. That's the right flavor.
Actually, yeah. So it's like there's none of that. It's just like really big, spacey, shoegazy guitars.
We are treated to another flashback to when Bob was in New Orleans for Katrina, since he is at most major disasters somehow. He decides that this is a perfect opportunity to murder more elderly people under the guise of the storm, so he joins a volunteer rescue crew.
Wait, is this for an assignment? He's just doing it?
No, he's just doing it. Bob just do stuff. He just do stuff.
Okay, all right, sure, yeah, that's the title of the book, so I don't know why I'm asking.
So he joins a volunteer rescue crew and directs them to the nearest elderly housing. Finding no one there, he abandons the rescuers and leaves with their boat. He checks into a hotel for a shower and dances naked in the mirror in his room. Interlude. That's the Opeth part of the evening. A transcript from an emergency call from 2016 where Helen Mayo Jr. is on a scissor lift surveying debris at the site of her mother's demise. And she's calling because she thinks Bob is giving signals while he's gardening and that he looks Chinese. She falls from the lift and dies mid-call, though, thankfully. So.
Okay. I'm glad that happened, I guess.
Station 13, opiates and incest. What is that?
Also slam death. Like that's straight up.
No. This is take is needed for pain. This is I hate God, opiates and incest. That's what this is. Mwah,
okay.
Perfect. Yep.
I feel like any incest mention is really up slam death's alley, but
all right, this is the longest section. Bob thinks that his former boss, who has become a frenemy of sorts, may be killing too many elderly people in the same location. So he heads to Miami to figure out if this is connected to the journalist who's looking into Bob. En route, a man at a roadside diner suggests Bob turn around and go home, but he does not heed him, of course. He stops for the night in New Orleans and gets dosed with acid while he's walking around with an open drink. He trips for 35 hours and then proceeds to Miami, 1.5 days behind schedule. He gets to his Miami hotel room and receives a text of Annie's arm with a large gash from someone named Anaserma. Oh no! He puts on a suit and encounters a parade of Trump supporters who are quickly car-bombed into gore. Bob locks eyes with a mysterious dark-haired woman in the aftermath and heads to his hotel's bar. The mysterious woman arrives and reveals she is Anaserma, and that Annie is being held at the Marble Palace Hotel as a sex slave by the very man he was tracking anyway, his old boss. He enters the Marble Hotel and gets into an action movie fight with his frenemy's forces, completely with like a classical movie soundtrack, slow motion, like it's described sort of like you would imagine that sort of thing in like a 90s.
It's the one's like da 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 da, whatever that one is. I should know what that one is.
And this whole scene of this fight in the hotel calls back to all the times in the book where we are in Bob's marble bathroom at home with him listening to similar music. So there's a, I don't know, a scenic connection here.
Okay.
He finds his old boss on the toilet in his hotel room at last and hits him hard, but not before the old boss can shoot a poison dart into Bob's nose. Luckily, Bob's able to remove it before the poison gets into his system. He continues through the hotel, but is shot and falls through a glass skylight. He survives.
Real action movie shit.
Yeah. Station 14, Debunking Camus.
Okay, that's a terrible album. That's a terrible, like, self-released Bandcamp album.
Yeah, agree. In Bob's haze of recovery in the hospital, he catches a Hillary Clinton rally on TV and absorbs some Bernie and Obama oratory energy. He silently pledges allegiance to the flag while thinking about all of the non-white people and immigrant hands who built America. He turns his iPod on, and the last thing we see is another Paul Oakes lyric. Even treason might be worth a try. This country is too young to die. I declare the war is over.
Are Sean Penn and Paul Oakes friends? Like, is that why he keeps...
No, Paul Oakes died a long time ago. Well, Paul Oakes died a long time ago. I don't think they knew each other. I
don't know who Paul Oakes is. That's my confession.
Yeah, that's okay. Station 15. Just a little kiss.
Oh.
Someone's side project with their wife. Oh, hair metal. No, you're right. It's hair metal.
Just a little kiss.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little kiss. Yeah, there's like, yeah, you can hear the poison. All right. It's now August 17th, 2017, and Bob is leaving the hospital in a cab, thinking about how embarrassing America has become. We overhear on the news radio that his house was blown up. He arrives at an assisted living facility to check himself in under the alias Gruff Goat, and of course, it is Annie working the front desk. They have
hold on. He's checking into an assistant, like they say first name's Gruff, last name Goat?
Correct.
Okay. Once again, Bob Honey just do stuff.
Yep. They have a brief, tearful reunion. As Bob unpacks, he notices Spurley the journalist sitting in a car in the parking lot. He assumes Spurley is here to kill him, so he types a letter to President Trump challenging him to a duel on Twitter. He takes his letter downstairs to the front desk for stamps and sees more political TV, which prompts him to think about how upset he is with Americans for not voting for Hillary Clinton. He affixes 3 stamps to the letter, but it is unaddressed. He returns to his room to rest to more Paul Oakes songs.
Okay, clarification.
Yes.
Was the Twitter duel a duel like meet me outside the White House and he posted it on Twitter, or was it a duel on Twitter and that they would tweet back and forth and whoever got like the most upvotes won?
It is the latter. It's something like tweet me, bitch, or something. I can't find it later.
Come outside and tweet me, bitch.
Epilogue. Later that same night, he impersonates Annie to intercept Spurley at the front desk and kills him before he can kill Bob. Ta-da! The end.
Okay. Wow. So, Paris, you did tell me that this was supposed to be a satire, and I think I can see where the attempt is being made.
Yes.
But it sounds like it didn't quite stick the line where you're supposed to, like, or what side you're supposed to land on with satire.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted about this, but let me just get through the rubric and then
Okay.
yeah, I'll talk about that more. So, all right. Technical construction. All right. Typos. There were somehow no typos in this, which was surprising because the construction was so bizarre. Formatting.
Bob Honey just edits stuff.
Yeah. You know, Chris, I gotta tell you, the world is upside down. There were footnotes and I hated them. I think I now hate books. I don't
Welcome
know.
to my world.
The anti-Paris has arrived. There were footnotes. There were so many footnotes in this, and this is such a small nonfiction satire. So it was like, I mean, I think I understand having finished the book. I think I get it, but I didn't enjoy it while it was happening. So I didn't love that. Punctuation.
Reviews of all of the music I've released.
Oh my god, that's awful. I'm sorry. That's really funny. Okay. Punctuation. The punctuation was technically correct also. Like, this was professionally edited, despite how bizarre it is, which we'll talk about later when we talk about prose and dialogue. Cover art and art direction. I mean, it's ugly to me, but it's fine. It looks like someone was hired. Like, whatever. That's your aesthetic choice. It looks totally fine. Looks professional. No issues there. I regrettably need to give this a 1 for technical construction, and I hate that I have to do that.
A begrudging 1 where you're like, I can find nothing to really.
Well, because like I don't like it, but that doesn't mean it's not constructed fine, right? Like, it's an ugly house.
Okay.
I'm not gonna live in it, but it's a house. It stands. It's got a door. Somebody else
They
clearly
pass
edited
code,
it.
you know?
Yeah, right. You know, the city is not up my ass. That's fine. All right, plot construction. So, general coherence. I mean, this is absurdist satire. So, coherence is, like, out the window anyway. I mean, I still think that the story was put together in a way that made sense. You know, he has flashbacks. You know what he's doing, where he's going. There is, like, a bit of an arc to it all. But, I mean, the best way I can describe the plot and its coherence is, like, imagine you're in bed, you somehow, you kind of like bounce back. You bounce back and you got a second wind and it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, what's on Cinemax right now? And it's Boomer Mr. Bean.
Yeah, as I do.
And it's Boomer Mr. Bean.
Okay.
And there's like some nudity.
Isn't he already a boomer? Kind of.
I guess think about the character of Mr. Bean and graft onto that, like, boomerisms and boomer manners. So it's like zany and ridiculous, but like grossly sexual. Like, it's like rated X, and you're like, why is this Mr. Bean film rated X? Like, this is
Why
how
are those balls out? What the fuck?
Yes, that is exactly how this felt. It's like, you're like, why is there a Mr. Bean movie on Cinemax? Why is it rated X? What is happening? Like, that is absolutely how this whole thing felt. So people, I hope you're with me. That is where I have been. It's where I just crawled out from. It's weird. Things are weird.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. All right. In terms of rules following, I feel like this book thinks rules are for pussies who aren't artists or something. Like, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it certainly follows the rules it sets out for itself. And
this is a hard category when you're talking about satire that's absurdist, right? Mm-hmm. Like it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it does achieve a level of comic absurdity. It made me laugh a few times, which I wasn't expecting. It also,
there you go.
It also made me crawl inside myself and vomit internally a few times.
Oh.
So,
like, wait, you crawled into your own mouth and then vomited inside your... Wow.
Yeah, it's a really specific genre of, like...
This song is called Vomiting Inside Yourself. Dun, 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 dun.
It's a really specific genre of inner vor. It's like the revoring,
Shit, you just made like so many people that listen to this be like, wait a minute. I think that's my thing.
Don't look that up. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. It's obviously. I think irreverent is the wrong word because it's pretty past that. This book is intentionally being extremely gross and it's really leaning into the stereotype of the unaware, like the American man lacking self-awareness who's like in his mid-50s and thinks he's like God's gift to the earth when he's actually a shitty dude who murders old people because he thinks he works for the government or something. And it like, it's very much that stereotype, and it is really pushing your face in it. So there's a lot of uncomfortable, gratuitous stuff in the prose, which we'll talk about. But in terms of rules, I don't know. I think it follows the rule it set out for itself, which was to write an absurdist satire about the American man. In this period of time, like at the time it was written, like 2016, 2018, but because we've gone back and are reliving that, but worse, it's still relevant now. Mm-hmm. So, okay, character quality. So, all right, because the book is like trying, this is my interpretation. I don't know if this is correct, but my interpretation of this book, perhaps generously, is that Sean Penn is like, look how gross this is, look how bad this is. However, I think he steps over the line and falls into a ditch when he starts talking about non-white people and women. Like, especially the non-white people. The racist stuff in this is real hard. Okay, so I am going to have to read part of this because you are not going to understand what I'm talking about if I don't. So the biggest problem with character quality here is how hard the author leans into racist caricatures, with the Jewish character Fischl being far and away the most horrific. Of course, Sean Penn is clearly trying to portray the main character, Bob, as completely ignorant and lacking self-awareness, and that the way that we see people is how Bob sees people, right? But I still think that could be effectively accomplished without garish, overt shit like this. So I just take a little bit of an issue with that choice. So let me just, let me go.
I'm preparing myself.
Okay, I'll just read part of this. As the chasm's diminishing darkness led to refracted shafts of rainbow sunlight, he rose, then broke the surface and took a big gasp of fresh air. Spent, he pulled his butt up onto the edge of the barge, facing out and flippers in the water, pulled off his mask and the top of his atmospheric dive suit, shut off his regulator, and released the clasps of his tanks. The weight off his back, Bob stared into the sun until a voice startled him. He turned to see a frantic, water-drenched Jew pointing Bob's own spear gun directly at Bob. "Who Jew?" demanded the man. "Your vid Bolivian intelligence? Jew vid cartel? Judiciary? Tell me now, who Jew?" "I'm Bob Honey. Jew American?" barked the man. Bob nodded. "What were you doing down there?" "Fish, looking at fish floating around." The man asked. "Schwimming?" "Well, yes, I guess so. I was swimming, diving." "I need to get out of here," said the man. "Where did you come from?" "I tunneled out into prison, ran into the jungle, ran through the trees to the road, then caught a bush to the border, then the beach. I never learned how to swim, but I made it. Jew shuns of bitches, I dog paddled like a dog." Bob's thought process inadvertently led to a private notion being shared aloud. "I feel like a dog sometimes," he said. These words seemed to calm the man, and Bob may have met his amphibological match. "Where are you going, Bob?" Bob told him he'd be attempting to sail the barge all the way to California, stopping intermittently at tasty scuba diving locations. The man lowered the spear gun with apologies and introduced himself. "I'm Fischl, Bob. Take me with you." So it's that.
I feel like you went through like a German accent, and then it was Jamaican, and then it was Russian, and then
I
it
wasn't
was
doing
like,
an accent. I was
lady.
reading it. I was reading it as written.
I know,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that the phonetic cues there seem to be all over the place.
Well, if I had leaned into it, I think it would have been a very stereotypical, like, American Jewish, right, like, accent. But, so, right? It's like you get that you want to get the effect that Bob is just inherently racist against Jewish people and sees them as caricatures, but he takes it just keeps going on. It's like, is this the best way to get this across? I don't know. And then there is even a footnote that's like, he uses Jew speak, and you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh,
like,
good.
Do
somehow
we need
the footnote
that?
is what trips it past being like reasonable satire and well into like, okay, but I get it, man. Like, it's almost like if you're respecting the reader to get the satire, adding the footnote is disrespecting them to like not be able to get it.
Well, and I also feel like, if you're talking about marginalized groups, right? Like, obviously Jewish people are, and you want to display, you want to show that someone's being racist towards them. Why would you depict them in the most racist way possible? Like, I just feel like there's a better way to show Bob's internal racism. And it's sort of like, it's too over the top and it hangs around too long. And it's that way with everything in the text. So I can find another section.
Is there ever some sort of cue where you're seeing perhaps Fischl from another person's perspective
No.
and he's just a normal dude and this is
Nope.
Bob's perception?
No. And obviously this whole thing is Bob's perception. So, right. So we don't want to we don't want to automatically say like, well, this must be how Sean Penn feels. Cause it would be very surprising to me if this book reflected Sean Penn. Like, I think Sean Penn is trying to kind of encapsulate the absurdity of Americans in this time period, right?
Yes.
But there's this is another example right from the beginning of the book, which I will read, regrettably. This is another moment where I'm like, I really hate that there's audio clips of me saying these things, even though it's just me reading someone else's work. But, all right, this is Bob reminiscing about his childhood. Out at the I-5 junction was an old mobile home park where Bobby, 11-year-old, learned to smoke ovals on the porch of the tipsy trailer where the teenage black chick lived with the cowboy. Though small for his age, B11 was thought a suburban danger boy and had trouble making friends in his own age group. Cowboy was often an hour or more late leaving the trailer. He and his juvie Jemima had realigning to do to keep that damn trailer level on its gravel pad. As Cowboy'd finally appear, it was an appearance sweaty and ready.
That last sentence was like some shit that you would find on like fucking freerepublic.com.
Yep.
Damn, Sean Penn.
Yep. All right, I'm just gonna try to finish that sentence and forget the one I said previously. As Cowboy'd finally appear, it was an appearance sweaty and ready to take the dutiful neighborhood boy on a septic tank pumping runs. He'd teach that little chump the tricks of the trade. They'd saddle up in Cowboy's tank truck, ignition grinding into gear, as the black chick would emerge and stand wistfully at the screen door, her hair mussed and smile satisfied. Wearing only an oversized cowboy shirt, she'd warmly wave them off to work into the forearc. Yep, Cowboy was one squared-away individual with his shit forever together, or so his young sidekick thought. And then a few sentences later... Alright, deep breath, everyone. With Cowboy serving a state-imposed sentence for statutory stimulations in locked-in stir, Bobby, 11-year-old, turned his thoughts to her. That beautiful black girl, the one the neighbors had now branded a whore. He thought of her beauty and the lure of her shaved and shapely cinnamon sticks standing at the trailer's screen door. One way or another, he would fill old Cowboy's boots, but the booty of his desire had run from reputation, fleeing town and fleeing with her. His summer of 42 dreams died like Destiny's Deadwood. So, it's so gratuitous that it sort of trips. It's like we get it. And this was right at the beginning. And then this sort of happens routinely whenever Bob encounters anybody who's not white. There's this weird, like, sort of racial departure is kind of the best way I could describe it. We just take a little weird fucking right and take a bang of you in. You're like, oh, God, what the fuck is going on? So, we've talked about this a lot on the show, and it's like, just because something is portrayed in a book, it doesn't mean that that's what the author feels, right? But there is something about this that I think, like, sure, I get that Bob is a shithead, and doesn't realize that he's being shitty, which is the whole point, right? We're trying to get at, like, Americans who think they're so cool and not racist, but then, you know, this is how they think about their life and people in it, right? But it almost, like, poking fun at that American stereotype, but also still poking fun at the marginalized person and, like, being insensitive about it. And it's like, I don't really know how better to suggest. It's very difficult to explain, but there is a lacking of sensitivity there, and it comes across as
And Bob
gross.
Honey isn't ever really the butt of the joke. Bob Honey kind of gets away with it in the, like, does he ever suffer consequence?
No, I mean, Bob, everything always comes out for Bob because he's a middle-aged white guy in America. So even though the book is like, he's not self-aware, he's kind of an idiot, like, but you're right. It does sort of, Bob Honey is sort of always okay and on a pedestal. I mean, the book never really takes pot shots at him, except for the one time he sees the journalist's notes. That's it.
Yeah, is there ever another character that is straight manning at him that is just, like, staring in disbelief?
Yeah, the journalist, Spurley. And
okay.
we do see his notes once, and it says something like, oh, I think he, oh God, I forgot. It says, sorry everyone, but it says, I think he has autism and he's a narcissist or something. So you get the sense that other people who encounter Bob definitely think he sucks and he is a narcissist. But like, that's the only time that I can remember. I mean, I finished this like a week ago. It's the only time I can remember where you get, like you're saying, like an outsider's perspective. Unfortunately, we are locked in Bob's head for this whole book.
Yeah,
so.
And I wouldn't mind that, but so a good example is a show like Curb Your Enthusiasm, where Larry David is explicitly a giant dickhead, and he is the butt of the joke most of the time. And he doesn't always get his comeuppance, but it's very clearly aimed at how Larry sucks and everyone around him is sick of his shit. So I'm glad that there's at least some of that with the journalist, but it doesn't sound like that was the focus.
No, that's like a blip. So, but I do think the whole purpose of this is to be like, hey, Americans, this is what you're like, and this is why you have what you have. Like, this is how you ended up electing Trump, because you are all internally racist and misogynist, but you don't recognize it, and therefore don't act appropriately in the world, and then you wonder how you hurt yourself with your own actions, you know? So I get that, but again, there's just something, there is a lack of sensitivity in so many parts where that's a problem. Like, we can also talk about I'm just going to do a quick example of the of when this happens with women too. Every time he describes female characters in the book, it's either super negative or purely sexual. There's no like positive, reasonable, random woman. Like, you have the nosy neighbor Helen, who is super annoying and thinks Bob's a spy, and she's right. That's the other thing. It's like the shitty, nosy Karen neighbor or whatever is actually right, that he is a spy who's killing people. Well, I mean, in Bob's head, he's a spy. He's probably, I think the supposition is like, he's actually just killing people. He's not actually a spy. He's just lost it. You know, just his own like narcissism or whatever. And she gets killed, in a ridiculous way. Like, a helicopter crashes into her house, which, to be fair, was a funny thing to do, for the purpose of the book. But, you know, she dies in this comic way. Her daughter dies falling off the scissor lift at the same place. There's a woman that they encounter on the barge at the party, and I can read this. With that, the bottle of tequila Mockingbird was blasted from her hand by the gunfire of fast-approaching vessels, its bitter brew splashing in broken glass at her feet. As the captain of the cumbersome yacht geared up engines in a futile effort to flee, Bob and Fischel bounded onto Bob's barge. With a hurried pull of the outboard cord, they plodded their way away from Plata o Plomo, staying hidden within the convenient cover of a blue-black smoke cloud the bigger boat had dispersed when her captain hit its multi-strokes choke. The crew of that cocaine cruiser was left behind to combat with Mexican Marines, and the awful chimera? She sharded agave shimmering spirits and shifted shit-faced overboard, landing boozy, bird-glass bleeding feet first into a shiver of 50 frenzied sharks. Adios, amiga. So this woman shits herself, falls overboard, gets eaten by sharks. Like, every time he talks about his ex-wife, he hates her. And then the one woman that he has positive feelings toward is Annie, but all of his feelings toward her revolve around her sex and youth and like creepily her smoothness because she has alopecia. Sorry, this is horrible, but it's part of the text. So the characterizations, again, it's not like I'm stupid. It's not like I think Sean Penn is like, hey, all this stuff is cool, but I do think he pushes it too far to where I start to question whether he does, right? So
there is a line somewhere.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's well over. He's like, listen, I really need to pile this on. You're like, Sean, I get it, I think. He's like, no, I really want to.
He's like, no, Americans are stupid. It's like, I know, but we're not that stupid. Get it. So, but something else this made me think of was sort of other writers that... I don't know if I would draw a direct comparison, but I think other writers that sort of show... Like, did you ever read anything by Hunter S. Thompson?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so does any of this kind of make you think about, depicting grotesque stuff?
It's like edging towards that, like over-the-top American excess.
Gonzo is kind of the word for it, right? So I get it. And like, that's my feeling about this whole thing, is that it's like an attempt at sort of gonzo stuff. Anyway, it's a little tough in some sense, but I think for plot construction, I'd give it a 0. It still had a through line. It knows what it was doing. The next section about like the writing style is where we're going to spend a lot of time.
I'm sure you're going to spend some time here.
Yep. This is where things are going to take a turn. But I think in terms of the themes and the way it was constructed, it was fine. It's fine. The characterization of, like I already said, the sort of the way that racism and misogyny is depicted ends up being grotesque, but in such a way that you wonder if it's endorsement instead of just depiction. So there you go. Mm-hmm. All right. Next section. Let's talk about how we felt moment to moment, or how I felt moment to moment, rather. Prose quality. Oh boy. All right. So we're going to talk about something small first that I hate. So,
okay, work up to it.
The book starts with quotes, and then some of the chapters start with quotes. I just hate when quotes are used like this. Like, you just slap a quote on something from some other famous person, and somehow you're inheriting some of their luster, and you're just shining up your own shit. Like, I hate that. It feels so purposeless. But then, if you think about the project of this book, I think that was the point. Like, if you are writing this as though it's supposed to be like some shitty middle America white guy who thinks he's awesome and thinks he's, it's like, it's almost like it's just another echo of that, where it's like, look at this book I wrote. I'm just going to put all these quotes on it. Doesn't that make it sound important? So again, it's tough. I'm like, is this part of the joke or is this Sean Penn? I don't know.
Yeah. Is this Bob or Sean?
Both? Is it both? And you know what? For all the hate the prose gets, I actually think there are hidden within it some great descriptions and turns of phrase, and I'll read some of them. Oh, okay. So I think the writing in this section was pretty good. Bob rarely receives callers, though once in a very long while might someone invade Bob's solitude. Typically, these instances are self-regulated to afternoons in sunny weather. Perhaps Bob's house, despite its common, single-leveled smallness, presents itself as an oddity, or as in some way a fright to anyone who is not diligently disposed to a sunny state of mind. When a knock comes at the door, it almost always comes timidly. It is late afternoon on just such a day, following just such a knock, when Bob first opens the door to the gruesome burger meat grind of a face so ravaged by its history of adolescent acne that its pits and protrusions cast sharp shadows where horizontal light sneaks below his hat's brim. The man appears roughly Bob's age, if not a few years his senior. The two of them share blank stares for several seconds of silence. Strangers on pause, yet as if awaiting the tines, tuning forks, and violet rays of Tesla's coil. Might this, their meeting on this day, be that resonant transformer? Then, allow me to introduce myself, Spurly Coultier. You're Bob, honey? Bob nods. I knew by your address, Spurley says. Sorry, that actually got me. Bob nods again. May I come in? Asks Spurley. Bob nods a third time. Then, in an impulse most alien to his personal history, he allows the portly stranger into his home, shyly gesturing him toward the small living room. Coultier takes up the table-end chair, and Bob sits centered on the couch. French? Bob asks. American, says Coultier. What do you do, Bob? Bob ponders, puzzled. Then, just stuff? What do you do, Mr. Coultier? I'm an investigative journalist, Bob. When Bob chuckles, it is a muted, guttural guffaw. Audible, though never intended so. Spurley asks, do you think that's funny? Bob shakes his head, then, so you ask people questions? Yes, Bob. And they give you answers? Sometimes they do, Bob. Do you believe their answers? Sometimes I do, Bob. Not me, Bob says. I don't believe anybody's answers. Can I believe yours, Bob? No, sir. I don't know if I ever really tell the truth much. I wonder sometimes if truth might be more habit than virtue. Yes, says Spurley. The practice of honesty has a gray hue. So why do you ask questions, Mr. Coultier? Good question, Bob. It's a heck of a good question indeed. I'm glad you asked me that question. I'm gonna go ahead and try to answer it, Bob. Your neighbors, I notice on the sheriff's blotter, have made several, how can I say, interesting observations and inquiries of you to the local sheriff's office over these many years. Bob nods almost imperceptibly. Are you aware of that? Asks Spurley. Bob's toolbox never included feigned puzzlement. I don't know. I think that's a good play between the characters. I thought it was well written. Fine. I just scroll through and pick another section. This is Bob describing himself as a child. Essentially a child bomber who dreamt of being a geologist, Bob had always found something just, righteous, or otherwise impulsively self-medicating to do, and he carried that habit into his adult years. On geological terms, Bob initially concerned himself only with the shine his lapidary equipment and tumbler could bring to nearly any found stone. But upon some reflection, it occurred to him that within the dust, bones, and petrification of Paleocene sedimentary rock was held an egoless and truthful history. Somewhere in the spaces of time, like the expanding and contracting fissures in hardened earth sharply worn by millenniums of moisture, it seemed mankind had traded truth for treachery, both religious and commercial. Branding is being, the algorithm of modern binary existentialism. His childhood's fears of foreign wars and messianic maniacs, real and imagined, had developed into an ultra-violent skepticism toward the messaging and mediocrity of modern times. And in opinions of morality, religion, politics, and science, would he increasingly consider the possibility everybody else is wrong.
Really spelling it out there.
Yeah. But I think that's good. I thought that was written really well. Like, I thought that was great.
Agreed.
And there are moments like of that where you're like, damn, this is such a good spot. It's a good section, whatever. Okay. But unfortunately, the vast majority of the prose is, I mean, Chris, I don't know how to tell you this, but Mr. Penn has a terminal stage 4 case of synonomial thesauruitis. He can't stop.
You hate to see it.
Oh, you hate to see it. So, like, the problem is that so many of the sentences or phrases sound unnatural, and sometimes it's because of too much alliteration, awkward combinations, or sometimes both. And it just feels like he kind of ran through and replaced as many words as possible with something bigger and more ridiculous. And again, I think this is in service to his point that if a egotistical, narcissistic, middle-aged American guy were to write this, that is something he would do to try to sound smart, right? So it's like, I think it is part of the joke. Is Sean
Penn just playing this character as an author?
Absolutely, 100%. And so I get that it is in service to the big point, but it makes it a chore to read. I do not enjoy reading things like this. I will read you some examples. Spurley has never heard Bob string so many words together in a row, but before he can query further, Bob clicks on the television set and turns his attention from Spurley. The news is reporting the shootings of 5 police officers in Dallas. No deliberation in the deification of police officers offered here, when just the day before it was police officers who shot 2 civilian black men to death. Judge, jury, and journalists had reflexively pre-convicted them of racial rancor by Ruger in a country rife with rule of law. It occurs to Bob that the media had effectively encouraged the killing of cops with that previous day's reporting meant to buoy its own fraudulent Negrocentrism and grandiose liberal enlightenment. Today, they shifted gears. What do you think about all that, Bob? Spurley asked, referring to the television's report. Do you think the police create the problem? With his eyes fixed on the television, Bob says, I think people create the problem, Spurley. White men are afraid of black men, and I can't speak for black men. I don't really know all the statistics, but it does seem that fear is a dangerous thing, and not the unique domain of police officers or black males. The TV now reports that the perpetrator had been dispatched by police with C4 explosive by a robotic proxy. Spurley sees that this too seems to worry Bob, and asks if that is so. Bob responds, I worry, Spurley, when cause and effect are underestimated. Once subsumption architecture is introduced to popular culture, well, it's never just one side that picks up the trend or that has exclusive access to tools. 3D printing lesson rules. So, there's this weird rhyming and alliteration.
This song is called Subsumption Architecture.
Yeah. Exactly. Here's another great example of the style throughout the piece. Come morning's light, the new day's Bob feels briefly bright until traffic like tinder takes its toll in travesty upon trails once left fated to foreplay and fairy tale. Bob passes a feature film fourplex and formerly Divine Deco drive-in. He realizes that not only in-road roaming reality has romance been relinquished to ruins, but the cinemas themselves have been caged and quartered into quixotic concrete calamities of corporatized cultural capitulation.
Okay, can you do that again, but like you're doing beat poetry?
I feel like I did.
Yeah, you really did. I'm just going to put the walking bass behind you.
Yes. I mean, so it's a lot of that, constantly. And I know I for the sections I thought were good, that wasn't happening in those, but most of the book, this is what's happening. And you're just like, Jesus Christ.
It's like you're at an open mic and there's one good performer that comes up every it's like the MC is kind of good, but then everyone that gets up to the mic is this. Yeah.
I mean, but again, it's in service to the greater point. I think again, maybe I'm being too generous. Maybe Sean Penn really sucks and this is how he feels about everything, and I shouldn't. But to me, it reads as someone very cleverly constructing this to serve this greater point of being Americans. What the fuck, right? Anyway, but it is a chore to read because of this alliteration and weird. It's almost like he's in a competition with himself to use as many strange words as he can. Here's another quick example. Hence, his life remains incessantly infused with her identity infidelity and her abhorrent ascensions to those constant salacious sessions of sexual solitaire she'd seen as self-regard. That's him describing his ex-wife,
Okay, yeah, all right. I'm already tired of it, and I didn't have to read the book.
So that's the thing. It is very tiring, and I guess that's the experience when you're talking to a middle-aged American man who's a narcissist and doesn't have any self-awareness or do any self-reflection. So again, we're just rolling with the main idea here. All right. In terms of dialogue, this is an absurdist satire, I think. So the dialogue is bizarre on purpose. It doesn't make it good, but I get that he's not making something realistic here. He is making something that is, cartoonish, right? We get it. So, and I feel like I've already read enough of the dialogue that I don't need to give any other examples. So, all right, for the prose quality and dialogue, I feel like I can't give it a -1 if I'm right about my theory about this, because it is crafted in such a way that it does make you pretty upset to read because it's so tiring. But
yeah.
It's so do I give credit or do I reflect how
I think because you're unsure of what is exactly the line of satire versus just that's how Sean Penn be writing.
I don't think so.
That's a solid 0.
I think a 0 is fine. I think a lot of people would give this a -1, but I think, again, if I'm right, and this is in service to the greater joke here, the joke that is this book, this book is a joke.
Yes.
It's I guess, yeah, it's a joke. It's, actually, what this book is? This book is, it is hidden in the text, is one man's act of absurdity that may be another's substitute for solace. which is something
Okay.
said in the book, and I feel like
Okay.
that's what this is. It was Sean Penn getting his jimmies out about how shitty it is to live in America under, the Trump regime or whatever, and like how it's all our own
United States
faults,
of America who just do stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
It's
So-
really what we are.
That is how I feel. All right, Terriblo's presence. Oh my god, yeah, the chaos levels are fucking in space. We are in another dimension. Again, like, in terms of like, fabric of normal reality maintained, some wavering, where are we? We're kind of in where are we, but then again, we're in this Trump second term, and this book eerily feels like it belongs because of that. Like, it's almost like the rest of the world's chaos has been turned up so high that the book's chaos is now at the same level, and it just feels
Doesn't feel the same, really. I'm
normal.
not getting the same thing. I need to do more.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, the chaos here is in this alliterative, crazy thesaurus prose style, and and this. Oh, sorry, I didn't talk about this earlier, but the book, the main character Bob, he's got the horseshoe thing going on, where like he's got some really left-wing beliefs and some really right-wing beliefs, and so he's kind of meeting at the either side of the horseshoe, right? And it maybe that doesn't feel coherent to an outsider, but causes absolutely no dissonance, cognitive or otherwise, in Bob's life. So, for example, Bob hates Trump and hates other Americans for not voting for Hillary Clinton because they're misogynist, but Bob himself overtly objectifies and fetishizes his former girlfriend Annie and makes fun of all the women he encounters in the book, and they also all die horrific deaths. So, and again, I think this is the whole point of the book, to showcase the American mindset that got us to this point in political history. There's little coherence and long-range thinking for many Americans, just kind of going with whatever they feel on a given day or what a given influencer has told them without doing much considering as to whether any of these separate ideas or beliefs make sense as a combined whole or whether they're actually acting on the beliefs they purport or feel they have. So yeah, I don't know. The chaos levels are high, but it feels right. The chaos is right.
Feels like Terrible was meant to be here.
Yeah. The Hall levels. Fairly regularly did I have to go back and read again what I had just read because the prose is a lot. Please help. Yeah, I sent you a few messages being like, Chris, fuck.
That was a component here.
So Treblo's presence. True's definitely here. So I guess that's a negative one, right? Because this is a Treblo ass book. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Should this exist? Questions we ask ourselves in this section is, would readers of this genre enjoy this? I don't know. I'm not sure if you're into that like gonzo style or you're into a book that's just a big kind of joke architecture, like the whole thing is a joke. Like, I don't know. Some people might be into this, but most people were not. So I normally don't do I don't do any reading. Neither of us really usually do any sort of reading of other reviews or interviews with the author because we don't want to spoil our conception of the book. I did check out a couple of reviews of this book when it came out because I was curious to know what other people felt, because I was feeling a little conflicted and was like, let me just see, because I didn't have Chris to like shoot back and forth with. So I think especially now that we're doing these solo reads, sometimes I do feel the need to sort of at least see a couple of things. And everyone, it was panned wildly by everyone. Every reviewer who reviewed this book took the content straight, as though it represented what Sean Penn actually thought and stood for, and was just a gross book about a gross man, and oh my god, it's so disgusting and racist, and how dare anyone publish this. That is all of the reviews of this book, and I was sort of flabbergasted, because I was like, wow, did people really, like, not understand? And then it started to make me question, I'm like, am I being too generous? Am I the idiot? Like, but I don't know. I was really surprised to see that it just seemed like nobody got the joke. Like, nobody understood the satire. And this is not a Morris Berman instance where we hated the satire because it was just bad and didn't do anything. This is, like, way more creative and smartly constructed. Again, I didn't love it. I didn't really like it. And I don't agree with sort of, I think that he, tripped over the line, like we talked about earlier when depicting marginalized groups and women and stuff, but like I just feel like everybody missed the point. And I wonder if it was because this came out in 2018, which is like peak Trump presidency, right, in America. And I wonder if people were just so repulsed by even the whiff of anything that could be conceived as, I don't know, misogynist or racist or whatever. Like, even though I don't think that was the project. Like, I want to think that Sean Penn didn't write this to promote those ideas, let's say. Right.
We're really trying to give him a lot of grace here.
Just after reading it, that's the impression that I got. I didn't get the impression that this was how he thought. It's just clearly, it's supposed to be a mirror reflecting Americans back to ourselves. Like, that is all I believe it's supposed to be. If I'm wrong, cool. Sean Penn, let me know. Be like, Paris, thanks for being generous, but actually, I'm a fucking racist, misogynist dick. Like, all right, cool. Thanks for clearing that up, you know?
Crowning achievement of author emails that we would have gotten if that happens.
I'd love to hear from him, because I'm so interested to know if I'm right. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm right, because to me, the other possibility would be ridiculous.
Tweet this episode at Sean Penn,
please.
everybody. Just send it
Mr.
to him.
Penn, please let me know. So anyway, do we feel as if this author's goal was met? Yeah, it seems like he wanted to create something that would outrage people and publish a thing, and he did that. Does it add anything new, interesting, or novel? I mean, in a way. I don't know if it's like kinda,
sure.
Kinda. Did it take something from us? Not really. I mean, it was pretty short, but I did unfortunately have to pay attention more than I normally do. It required a little effort, and honestly, I had to read this in small chunks because it was exhausting to read. And again, probably the point, but it didn't.
It seems rich with things to have to process.
Like clotted cream, this thing was. All right, what should someone read instead of this? I mean, honestly, I think if you are looking for satire about American masculinity, like American Psycho, Fight Club, those are both great choices that engage with this kind of idea. If you like the wackier style, maybe check out Hunter S. Thompson. I don't know. I can sort of recommend Thomas Pynchon. I don't know. I read V like a million years ago, and I wasn't really into it. But I think if you are looking for the more like, I don't know, that sort of style, maybe check those out. But for thematic stuff, American Psycho and Fight Club are the obvious choices to me for things that I enjoyed more and that sort of did this kind of holding up a mirror to the American man in a way that I felt was better. But you know. All right. Can we fix it? I don't know, man. I feel like I already said everything I have to say.
Hold on, wait. You barrel ahead every single fucking time. You have not learned your lesson. We have to score it.
No.
You're so ready. I understand why you'd be so ready to end, but here you scored technical construction a 1, plot construction a 0, moment to moment a 0, Terrible's presence a -1, and should this exist, what was the score there?
Ooh, I guess in my gut I want to say -1, but it's probably truly a 0. That's the real score.
Well, then this is a 0 out of 5
Hey,
book,
that
Paris.
seems perfect. That's perfect. It's just right in the middle.
Telling you, the rubric does it, man. All right, now can we fix it, Paris?
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like I've said a lot of this already, but I deeply hated the constant alliteration and the word choices, but that was obviously intentional and probably, again, part of the big joke that was, or maybe joke isn't the right word, but the project that was this book. You know, for me, it took away from the focus of the message of the text, right? So it was kind of hard, but again, it was probably done in service to that. So this is just sort of a maybe not for me kind of a thing. I also think that you can show gross stuff like racism and sexism in a way that isn't voyeuristic and gratuitous, which is what this felt like most of the time. But again, that was also probably intentional, in that it is making fun of Americans and pointing out their obvious contradictions and self-owns. And I get it. You know, it was a fun little project for Sean Penn, but I think a lot of people thought he was like hiding how he really feels in the text. I don't know, maybe he is a huge asshole. I don't know, Sean Penn, like, who does, right? Like, but
yeah, right?
Based on, I don't know, but I don't get the sense that that's what was happening. I get the sense that he's upset about the current state of the country, or the state it was, 7 years ago, and also now, because time isn't real and we're trapped in a loop. So yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm right. Hope I'm right, because if I'm not, oh man, I'm gonna be so upset. That being said, I don't think I would recommend this book, because I feel like it doesn't. You would have to be a very specific person for me to recommend this book for you. Like, I might recommend this to you if you are actually that person, if you are the person lacking of self-awareness.
If you are Bob Honey who just do stuff.
I would recommend this to Bob Honey. That's who I would recommend this to.
All right, Paris, well, thank you for taking us through Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff, and thank you to our patrons and Ko-fi donors, like our bad bookworms, Ben, Donnie, Emily, Jakob, Jared, Scott, Will, and our newest patron, Katie M, who joined us. Thank you, Katie M. Our exacting editors like Kieran, David, D, Emmy, Funny Robot with Antennas, Greg, Harry 7, Martin, Root Beer Cutie, The Ugly One, Elliot, and Xander. Our loathsome librarians, Veronica, Beast with Elise, Yanka, Luchek, Patricia, Julius, and Of the Void, the Taco Unicorn of the Hot Springs. Our pesky publishers like Miles, Austin, Patrick, Fred, and George, who recommended this one today. And of course, our Ko-fi donors like Mark, Tracy, and our ever-faithful Kiwi Thing. And Excavating Lizard, along with Martin F. Brenna and Matthew, who relieved us of terrible books. If you want some terrible books we've read for the show, you can buy them over on our Ko-fi page. Well, thank you, Paris. I guess I'm off to start this death metal set now.
This song is called Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff. Dun, 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 dun.
Chris, I'm sorry, you have your work cut out for you with music for today's episode. Yeah. All right, well,
I've done a horrible thing to myself.
Everyone, please tag Sean Penn if you know Sean Penn. I just want to have seriously, if I could just have a 15-minute discussion with him, or an email, 2 emails back and forth. I don't want to take up his time, but I want to know if I'm right. I want to know if I'm right, and if I'm not, that's okay too. I just want to know. I need the answer. Sean, please tell us.
Also, we don't have a big enough fan base where he would really feel harassed. It would be 3 messages tops, and then it would be over.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, God. All right, folks. Well.
All right, everyone. Go bug Sean Penn.
Right,
see you later. Bye.
Go out and do stuff.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Terrible Book Club. Terrible Book Club is an independent podcast produced by your hosts, Paris and Chris. Sound design and audio editing by Chris, with sound effects and music by Epidemic Sound and sometimes also Chris. Our theme song is Kiss by Yearn, which is, you guessed it, actually also Chris. You can find more of his soothing synthy sounds on Bandcamp at yearn.bandcamp.com. Do you want us to review a book of your choice on the show? Do you want access to some extra audiovisual weirdness? If so, become a patron at patreon.com/terriblebookclub. If you'd like to send us a one-time tip instead, you can do that at ko-fi.com/terriblebookclub. You can also support TBC for free by sharing the show on social media, following our accounts on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Goodreads, telling your friends about your favorite episode, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or anywhere else on the internet. To send us book recommendations or your adorable pet photos, send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com.